Jill Duggar Dillard has returned with an emotional update in the midst of her road towards better health. A miscarriage occurred in April of 2024 for the woman, who was 33 years old. At that time, Jill and her family were going through a really difficult moment. Getting back on her feet and beginning to share stuff about her family was a process that took her some time on her own. It would seem that Jill has not yet moved on from the loss she experienced. She went so far as to publish a picture of herself during their traumatic trip to the emergency room. In order to view the photo, continue reading. After suffering a devastating loss in April of last year, Jill was able to reunite with a few of her siblings as well as her parents. For a number of years, the former cast member of Counting On has been emotionally distant from her family, particularly from Jim, Bob, and Michelle. When Isla Marie passed away, however, every member of the family was there at her burial. Since that time, Jill has started to develop a closer relationship with her siblings. In addition, Jill and Derek were present at the Christmas party that the family hosted the previous year, and Jim Bob was seen engaging in conversation with them. Despite the fact that they have been making every effort to spend time together whenever they are able to, she stated that things are still tough between them. Over the last several days, Jill Duggar Dillard has been posting more photographs from her traumatic miscarriage on various social media platforms. During their journey to the emergency room, the former cast member of Counting On shared a photo. The fact that her eyes are still puffy in the picture demonstrates that she shed a great deal of tears when she found out about her loss. The miscarriage that Jill had occurred exactly 1 year ago, as stated by her. She went on to say that the news that Isla Marie's heart was no longer beating crushed their hearts. She said that they were devastated by the news. During this time, a number of her followers sent their prayers and well wishes for her recovery in the comments area of her website. These anniversaries are so difficult to mark. Love and prayers for strength are being sent your way. There are no words that can adequately express how much love I am sending your way. Feeling the warmth of a warm embrace. Jill and Derek are sending you a hug and keeping you in their prayers at all times. The same thing happened to me as well. I can only empathize with other mothers since it is the most difficult thing to do. It is without a doubt one of the most challenging experiences I have ever had. Please accept my heartfelt love and prayers. The Lord is close to those who are overcome with grief. We are keeping you in our thoughts and prayers, my dear buddy. A few days ago, Jill Duggar Dillard also took the time to write a long statement in which she discussed the ways in which she has been coping with the loss of her pregnancy. The former cast member of Counting On claims that there is no expedient solution to the loss, and she goes on to say that it is as if she is living her life with an amputation. She disclosed that the anguish of loss is something that never goes away, and that the process of healing may be a challenging one. She proceeded by saying, and if I may add some more, it may take a great deal of time, prayer, tears, support, and assistance to get there. The horrific turn that her evening took was one that Jill Duggar Dillard had not anticipated at all. Her experience as a mother of 3 and a wife to Derek Dillard had provided her with a solid understanding of the unpredictability that comes with being a parent. On the other hand, she was completely unprepared for the unexpected occurrences that took place on that fateful evening, a night that would ultimately lead her to the emergency department, where she would be overcome with anxiety and confusion. In the beginning, it was just another typical evening in the Dillard home. While Derek was occupied in another area, the children were engaged in play, and Jill was in the process of finishing up supper. In a few minutes, however, something seemed odd. Her abdominal region was pierced by a strong and powerful pain that was so quick and terrible that it caused her to temporarily lose her breath. In the beginning, she disregarded it, believing that it may be something little, such as stress, weariness, or even something that she had consumed. However, the agony continued to become greater as the minutes went by. In addition to the beads of perspiration that developed on her forehead, she had a hard time standing. When Derek became aware of her grief, he hurried to be at her side. Jill's heart was pounding with panic, and the expression in his eyes reflected that feeling. In a commanding tone, he grabbed his keys and said to Jill, "We are going to the hospital." Jill and Derek hurried to the emergency department after the children had been left in the care of a reliable friend for a short period of time. The automobile journey seemed to go on forever, and every bump in the road made her discomfort more worse. Jill clenched her stomach and worked hard to suppress her tears as she concentrated on breathing through the excruciating pain. As soon as they arrived, the medical professionals did not waste any time. In response to the severity of Jill's condition, they transported her to an examination room, where a group of medical professionals and nurses immediately began their work. Her discomfort, her anxiety, and the overwhelming confusion of what was taking place within her own body seemed to be amplified by the fluorescent lights that were hanging over her. Did you have appendicitis? A cyst that has ruptured? A more serious issue? Not knowing was nearly as intolerable as the actual anguish that was being experienced. Following the completion of a number of tests and an ultrasound, a physician entered the room with a face that was deliberately neutral but displayed a hint of worry. In a soft voice, he continued by saying, "Jill, we have some results. It would appear that you are grappling with a pregnancy-related complication." Jill's chest tightened up as she breathed. "Can you conceive?" At that point, she had no idea. As the doctor proceeded to explain that she had experienced an early miscarriage, tears began to spring up in her eyes. She was overcome with a sudden onslaught of feelings, including astonishment, anguish, remorse, and an agonizing sadness that she was unable to adequately express. As he clasped her hand, Derek let his own eyes well up with tears of grief. They had a kid that they had lost before they even realized they had a child. Throughout the subsequent hours, Jill was scrutinized in great detail. Although she was able to control her physical discomfort, the mental toll she was experiencing was an altogether other issue. She had an empty feeling, and she was unable to completely comprehend the truth of what had just occurred. "I immediately had the sensation that I was being suffocated by the hospital room, which had antiseptic walls and remote monitors that beeped." She yearned to be at home, to surround herself with her children, and to be able to work with this loss in the privacy and comfort of her own place. Jill turned to social media in the days that followed in order to share her story, which was a choice that she made after giving it a lot of consideration and praying about it. Despite the fact that her eyes were tired, they were filled with a calm power. She shared a picture from her hospital bed. It was a passionate and unfiltered message that said, "We never got the chance to meet you, sweet little one, but you were loved from the moment you came into existence. Despite the fact that my heart is severed, I take solace in the knowledge that you're protected by Jesus. I want to reassure any other women who have been through this difficult journey that they are not alone." Almost immediately, there was an outpouring of support. Many women from many walks of life recounted their own experiences with loss, providing words of compassion, empathy, and support to others who were going through it. Even though she was in mourning, Jill found comfort in the community that came around to support her. Jill relied largely on her faith as she guided herself through the days that were ahead of her. Together, she and Derek prayed, and they took solace in the knowledge that their child had moved on to a better place. Her elder children, who were too little to completely realize the extent of their parents' sadness, gave their own kind of healing by hugging, laughing, and bringing the type of pure pleasure that only children are capable of bringing. Jill was aware that the path to recovery would not be simple, but she was also aware that she would not be traveling this path alone. She was going to go ahead with the love of her family, the support of her community, and the power of her faith. She would keep the memory of the small life that she had lost inside her heart for the rest of her life.